What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Luttie's Lookback, episode number 24. My name is Nick Luttrell. We have a fun show for you guys today. We'll talk a lot of college hoops. At the end of the show, we'll also talk high school hoops, state championship weekend this upcoming weekend. Some semifinals and quarterfinals action happened this past weekend that we will talk about. But first, we'll start how we always do with my three big things from Arkansas's win over the weekend against Mississippi State. The first one of my three big things, the big man, they came to play big time. The second point, DJ Wagner, he is stepping up in big moments. And the third one, point made. South Carolina game, that was an outlier for the Razorbacks. And let's go back up to my first one for the Hogs. I talked about on the show a few weeks ago how this team has really good guards, at times has really good guards. And we just need the big man to play better, the big men to play better. And then Z stepped up. Z, he went off and made a bunch of three-pointers a couple weeks ago. And now, after this game, man, the big man, they played really well. And I have a lot of confidence in this team going forward because now I've seen a complete team. And it's only with 7 guys. It's still with 2. They're probably top 2 best players. They're top 2 point scorers. They're still both out, and they probably will be out for the rest of the season, Duthero and Bookie Flant. But time and time again, this team continues to step up. And in this game against Mississippi State, it started with the big guys. Jonas Aidoo, let's give him a standing round of applause. Stand up right now, wherever you're at, and give this guy a round of applause because coming into the season, he'd been dealing with that nagging injury for so long. We saw he had some really good moments at Tennessee last year, and you just haven't seen it hardly at all this season. The past 2 games, and especially this past game over the weekend, we have seen what Jonas Aidoo can do. He started out this game a couple minutes into it and made a mid-range jump shot. That's when you knew, okay, he's pretty confident in this game, and he played really well. He's tied his season most minutes, 32 minutes, had the most points he's had all season, 21 points, 10 rebounds. Half of his points were dunks. His teammates did a good job of getting him the ball. I mentioned the 10 rebounds, 6 of them coming on the offensive end. That was big time because Arkansas struggled rebounding the ball the first 10 minutes of the game. And, there's a reason Coach Cal's a Hall of Fame coach. He made adjustments. Honestly, I don't know what. But something changed to where they started rebounding the ball better. And especially Jonas Aidoo played really well in this game. On the flip side, Trevin Brazile also played really well for the Razorbacks. 11 points, 11 rebounds. Maybe not his best game ever. Maybe not the breakout game that we saw at Vanderbilt when he had a double-double on Tuesday night. But this game was certainly the Trevin Brazile of old. I mean, remember a few years ago how good he was. How good he was for Eric Musselman's squad. And then we just never saw that for a year or two, and now we're starting to see that, an even better version. I don't know if he could shoot the 3 a few years ago as well as he can now. So that's really exciting when you got TB stepping up, making a couple of three-pointers, and having a really good game and peaking at the right time. I've said it again and again, this team, you got to peak at the right time. You got to peak in March. Arkansas, after starting 0 for 5 in the SEC, I think won 8 of their last 12. Somewhere around that number. They're a good team, and they're peaking at the right time. Big point number 2 on the guard side, DJ Wagner. He's stepping up in big moments. You saw it in the Vanderbilt game when he hit that logo three-pointer at the end of the shot clock, and in this game hits a three-pointer with less than a minute left to go. 38 minutes he played in this game, almost a full 40-minute game, 24 points, 7 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc, 7 of 7 free throws. Arkansas shot the free throw, shot their free throws well in this game, certainly well enough to get the win. He also added on 5 assists. It was a week ago, folks, that I was talking about DJ Wagner and how he had 0 assists against South Carolina. I think maybe 1. He didn't have many. Everyone had a bad game against South Carolina. Exception is Jonas Aidoo, but besides that, everyone played horribly. And now a week later, and this goes on to my last point, we've seen that game was just an outlier. And thank goodness that game was just an outlier, because there would be a lot more concern as we're talking about this Razorback team if they would have lost to Vanderbilt and they would have lost to Mississippi State. But they didn't. They won those 2 games after going down by 35 to South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC. They burned the tape. Coach Cal said it. They didn't even watch the film from that game. They moved on. He said, that's not my team. I'm not going to watch the film on it. And he didn't. And they moved on, and now they're fine. They're back to the team that we saw at the end of February. And they're a good basketball team, a team that is good enough to make it into the NCAA tournament. I mean, think about how much this team has overcome. You know, starting out 0-5 in the SEC, Boogie Flan being injured, their best player and a first-round draft pick, then a Duthero being injured, their leading point scorer, and just a physical guy that just kept getting better as the season went on and bigger as the years have gone on. And now he's out. Maybe for the season, it's kind of been quiet on that regard. No one really knows. But if he's out for the season, oh well. But not oh well, like it doesn't matter. It matters. But the point I'm trying to say is they've overcome a lot. The Nelly Davis injury, Adu's been injured, TB hasn't been 100% at times. They've kept pushing, and they've kept getting better somehow through all of that. So that's a little bit of my take on the game. Here's what Coach Cal had to say about his team.
And I told him, man, I've done this a long time, and this may be the most rewarding season for me because there are a bunch of good kids that struggled early and in their own individual way, and then collectively we struggled early. Yet, because they were good people, they stuck together. Our staff never blamed. We just kept working with them. The trick when you're going through that is that you must keep picking them up. You ready? But you still got to be a truth teller, and you got to hold them accountable. We did what we had to do. Look, they're really good. They're a top 25 team. They're really good. And we got out. They missed a shot, and we rebounded, and we win the game. But they're good.
So Hogs get the win over Mississippi State. A little bit of an upset win because they were number 25 in the country. Arkansas not ranked at all and probably not that close to being ranked. But a win over a good Bulldogs team, a good win on your home court, a win that might have been a little bit nicer if you won it by 20, like I think people thought they were going to about midway through the second half. They were cruising. They were up by as much as 16, and then they let the Bulldogs kind of climb back. And then, you saw it down the stretch. The DJ Wagner three-pointer. Mississippi State comes back down, makes a three-pointer of their own. And then Arkansas makes a big defensive stop after a Jonas Adu free throw. A Jonas Adu free throw is what wins them the game, kind of like a week or two ago when that happened, maybe against Texas. It's crazy how much this team has improved, and it's something they should definitely be proud of. Again, they're peaking at the right time. And the right time is heading into the SEC basketball tournament. Let's take a look at the bracket. So it's a four-way tie for ninth place. Arkansas gets the tiebreaker over all of those other teams, Vandy, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. And Georgia. Or Oklahoma, I can't even remember. So Arkansas will be the 9 seed. They will play Wednesday at noon. That is less than 48 hours away. Arkansas, but they face off against a South Carolina team that is the worst team in the SEC, but is the team that destroyed the Razorbacks a week ago. So we'll see how things go. My thinking is Arkansas, even if they lose this game, I think they should still get in. I think they should still get into the NCAA tournament. Will it happen? I'm not sure. But if I had to make a prediction, I think they'll beat South Carolina. Again, I said it's an outlier. I don't think it's any problem with South Carolina. I just think they had a bad game. Now on a neutral site, knowing that if they win this game, they're into the NCAA tournament. I said it a week ago. I said if Arkansas wins 3 games, they have to win 3, then they'll make it into the NCAA tournament. They've won 2. Now, if they beat South Carolina, no matter what happens the rest of the way, they are in. So there's a look at your bracket. They beat South Carolina, then they face off against Ole Miss the next day, Thursday at noon. They beat Ole Miss, and they face off against Auburn in the quarterfinals on Friday. And as you can see, it kind of goes on from there. Arkansas, I think they've only won the SEC basketball tournament championship once. I think that was back in the early 2000s. So it hasn't happened much. Probably won't happen this year, but again, just one. All you need is one to make it into the NCAA basketball tournament. Let's go to the women's side of things. They fell in the first round a week ago on Wednesday night to Georgia, 79-74. But the thing I want to talk about is Izzy Higginbottom. And you see her behind me. What an exceptional player for this Razorback team. Specifically in this game, 38 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. 15 of 24 from the field, 7 of 7 free throws, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. She did some really, really incredible things as a Razorback as their season comes to an end. I think it should be recognized and rewarded how great of a season she had. And it's really awesome to hear from her about how much it means to her wearing the red and white and playing for the Razorbacks, being just a girl from Batesville.
Yeah, I think it's just every kid's dream. Whatever state you grow up in, you look to go to that university, and I think, I've gotten to live out my dream this last year, so it's been a lot.
And really special there for Izzy Higginbottom. And I know the Razorbacks, they didn't have a good year. They were the worst team in the SEC for the majority of the season. One of the worst. I think they were maybe the 14 seed in the SEC tournament. There are 16 teams. But this season, when looked back upon, it'll be thought of as the Izzy Higginbottom season, because when you go back and look at the record book, her name is the top of it in a lot of regards. And specifically, just looking at this season, what this season looked like, she's now first. She set the school record in points in a season, 780 points, beating out Chelsea Dungy from a few years ago. First in points per game with 24.5 points per game. First in free throws, 242 free throws. And then second in field goals made. I'm guessing Dungy was first above that. But setting records that, she wasn't recruited by the Razorbacks out of high school. She went to, I don't know if she went directly to Arkansas State and then the Razorbacks, or if she went to a smaller school before then. But just to see her progression over the course of her career is a really special thing. And you can tell, that video that I just played, you can tell it really means a lot to her. And Coach Neighbors, he talked about it after Wednesday's game. He said, I want to find more people, not just the type of player that Izzy Higginbottom is that can change your team, but the person that she is. And I think that's something that's really important to think about, the person that she is. She's someone from Arkansas that wants to play for Arkansas. And we're kind of losing that a little bit these days in college athletics. So hats off to Izzy Higginbottom on a great career for the Razorbacks and a great season for Arkansas. All right, that's enough basketball talk. Let's go to baseball now. They swept Portland over the weekend, 2 of which were in run rule fashion. Yesterday's game a little bit closer than probably some people wanted, but no doubt a sweep of Portland. In Game 1, it was a 20-3 win in 7 innings. Gabe Gackle gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and we're thinking, oh no, it's happening again. He had a really poor outing last time out against Charlotte, giving up like 6 earned runs. This one he gives up two earned runs, but they give him credit after that. The way he pitched after that was good. He ended up going 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts. On the offensive side, obviously they scored 20 runs, so you're going to have a lot of offensive weapons. And, if you watch this team, it starts with a couple players, and they're not from America. Brent Iredale, the Aussie, he was 3 or 4 in this game, 8 RBIs, 2 home runs. Vaheva Aloy also had 2 home runs. The Hogs, they put up 13 runs. So 20 runs in total. This is on Friday's game. 20 runs in total, 13 runs against their starting pitcher who, okay, it's just a starting pitcher that's from Portland. No, this guy is a preseason All-American. He was supposed to be pretty good. Now, maybe he's not as good as people thought he would be, but for Arkansas to have double-digit amount of runs on a guy who's a All-American, I think that's pretty impressive. So they get the win Friday. They get the win Saturday, 10-0 in 7 innings. Zach Root, another really good outing from him. Kind of wonder if he's going to – I don't know if he has the stuff as good as Gabe Gackle to move up to the Game 1 Friday starter. But I think it could be talked about. He's certainly the best starting pitcher right now for the Razorbacks. On Saturday, he had 6 innings pitched, no earned runs. He tied a career high with 10 strikeouts. In Game 3, Landon Beidelshees was the go-to guy, starting pitcher for the Razorbacks. Not quite as good as Root, but still 5 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts. Brent Iredale homered again, and Arkansas held on to win in Game 3, 5-3. So those are some of my thoughts. Let's hear what Dave Van Horn had to say to his team after the game.
Really good ball game as far as pitching was outstanding. Cheese, nice job. Gave us a chance to get off to a good start. Like I told you, you're going to get their best shot today, and you guys took it. I mean, you got out hit, but you guys got the big hits. and our bullpen did a tremendous job coming in, finishing it up, and kind of held on there. But really good double play there to end the game. That was beautiful. Good sweep. Good sweep. You guys need to rest up because this is a week leading up to SEC play.
Yeah, as DVH mentioned there, Arkansas, they'll start SEC play this weekend. It comes up fast, folks. Before that, they got one last non-conference game before SEC play starts, and that's UCA, who they'll face off with tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that game. Of course, I have highlights tomorrow night on the broadcast and everything. But this weekend, a big series against Ole Miss. And, you know, last year they weren't that good. A few seasons ago, they were really good. This year, it seems like they're pretty good. They're 13-1, the number 17 team in the country. They've played well this season. Again, only one loss. Arkansas also only has one loss. So I feel like we already know a lot about this Arkansas baseball team, but now they play a really good team in Ole Miss, and they play in Oxford. So we're going to find out when I talk on this show a week from now just how good this team is. And I know it's still early in the year, but a chance at Ole Miss to prove, hey, we're actually this good. We actually can put 10 runs against an SEC, could put up 10 runs against an SEC team. We'll see if that can happen for the Arkansas baseball team. To softball quickly here, not a good weekend for the Hogs. They did avoid the sweep yesterday, but they lost the series, speaking of Ole Miss, to number 25 Ole Miss. Game one, they lost 9-2 in 6 innings. They got run ruled, folks, by Ole Miss. And that's not a good look. But if you watch the game, if you look at the details, this game was a lot closer than it seemed. It was 2-1 in the top of the 6th, and this game only lasted 6 innings. Arkansas was only down by 1 run in the top of the 6th. They had the bases loaded with 1 out, and then Mississippi gets a double play, and that ends the inning. They go to the bottom of the 6th. Robin Herron was pitching okay, pretty good, and then she gave up a 2-run home run. That made it 4-1. They pulled her. In came Cam Harrison, who pitched good on Saturday, I think, is when she came back to pitch, but not good on Friday. She gave up 5 runs. It was a 7-run inning for Ole Miss, and then they walked it off and won in run rule fashion. So kind of an ugly game in game one. Game two was definitely dominated by Ole Miss 9-3. And then yesterday, Arkansas won 20-3. After getting blown out the first 2 games, they come back on their last day and say, hey, we're not going to get swept. And they didn't. So give credit to them for not being swept. They win 20-3 yesterday in 5 innings, and they dominated Ole Miss's starting pitcher, who is the same starting pitcher from Friday, who they couldn't barely get a couple hits off of, or they couldn't take advantage, I should say, of runners in scoring position was more of their issue. Defensively, they got some issues. A lot of their runs are coming on errors, so something to look at going forward, probably a weakness for this Razorback team. But that is a look at softball. Now to the Gym Backs. They put up their highest score of this season and their 3rd highest in program history on Friday night, but they still lose to a pretty good top 10 Kentucky team. That's the weird thing about gymnastics. You can have an amazing score, but obviously if the team you're playing is also really good or much better than you, there's not a big chance that you're going to win that game, that match, meet. So working on my terminology for gymnastics. But a really good performance out of this Gym Backs team. They seem to be getting better as the season goes on. Obviously, their best scorer of the season so far. Jocelyn Robertson, the freshman, who I've mentioned multiple times, who's an Olympic alternate on the Olympics this past summer. Her highest all-around, not just her highest all-around score, but the highest all-around score in Arkansas gymnastics program history, a 39.525. So really good for Robertson, the freshman, for the Razorbacks. They got their season finale this upcoming Friday against Missouri, before next weekend will be the SEC championship. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, that's enough Razorbacks talk. Let's go back to Arkansas State. Some basketball talk. The men take down South Alabama 74-71 to advance to the conference finals. It was a back and forth thriller that the Red Wolves just pulled away in the end to get the win. 36% from beyond the arc. That's the big stat when I look at this game for the Red Wolves. They shot the 3 ball really well. We've seen games this season where they haven't, and they started out not shooting it well. I think they had like 11 points midway through the first half. They've got games when they start out slow, and I don't know if they can afford that if they make it to the big dance. But in this game, they could afford it because they were playing a team, with all due respect, in South Alabama that Arkansas State is better than. Shout out to Barry Dunning Jr. for South Alabama. Former Razorback, has played really good for South Alabama this year. but fell to Arkansas State. And speaking of foreign Razorbacks, Joseph Pinion leading the way for the Red Wolves, 23 points, 5 of 12 from beyond the arc. He's got a green light. No matter where he has the ball past half court, no matter how many he's made, no matter what the score is, no matter what time is on the clock, Joseph Pinion has a green light to shoot that three-pointer. And when he gets on fire and he starts making them, it's really exciting, and it makes this Arkansas State team really, really dangerous. Arkansas State getting the win yesterday and taking down South Alabama. That is a look at them. I think we have the bracket, so let's take a look at that as well. Not updated yet, but they have advanced to the championship. They will face either James Madison or Troy, depending on how that game plays out. But once again, Arkansas State just one win away from making it into the NCAA basketball tournament. I think they're the favorite. I think they should win. But will it happen? We'll see. That game is tonight, 6 p.m. Of course, we'll have highlights later tonight at 10 o'clock on a 10 o'clock newscast. That's the men's side. On the women's side of things, they fly past Troy 81-66, also in the semifinals. They also advanced to the championship game. They also are one win away from making it to the NCAA tournament. So a really special thing going on in Jonesboro with both of those Arkansas State teams. In this game, Kennedy Montu, she caught fire pretty early on. They went up by as much as, I think, 20 in the first half. Troy kind of came back on them a little bit, but then A-State had a good run at the end to take the win. Kennedy Montu, 4 3-pointers, 21 points in total. On the defensive end, which I've mentioned multiple times, they got that press defense. They got a really good defense. They got guards that can play. They have a lot of weapons. And we'll see if they can put it together and win the finals tonight. But Montu was good. Kristen Rose was good. Head coach Destiny Rogers has this team playing really well right now, and we'll see if they can be playing well enough to make it into the NCAA tournament. Let's take a look at that bracket for the women's side of things. You see on the far right corner of your screen. Again, if you missed my show last week, this is not how a normal bracket works, so it's very weird. I apologize for these people at the Sun Belt who don't know how to make a bracket, but they did it a little differently this year. I don't know if it works. I'm not really sure. All I really care about is that Arkansas State advanced, and they did. They made it to the finals, and now they play against James Madison, the team that has been the dominant team in the SBC all season long. They've only lost 4 times this year, and it's to Power 4 schools, except for one of those losses. They're a really good team. I don't think they've lost in the year 2025. They're a really good team that Arkansas State can beat, but the Red Wolves will have to play their best basketball in order to take down JMU. That game today at 1 o'clock. All right, to Little Rock, and now the Trojans. They look good in the OVC quarterfinals on Thursday with a win over UT Martin. We're talking about men's basketball here, but not so good on Friday as their season comes to a bit of a bitter end, 78-59 over SEMO. This was a 50-50 game going into it. They held their own for a bit, but then SEMO just kind of went on a run midway through the first half, and that kind of did it. 18 turnovers for Little Rock. That's not going to win you many games, and neither is going 2 of 12 from beyond the arc. Now, don't get me wrong. Little Rock is a team that they don't shoot the 3-ball. They're both the men's and women's team. They don't shoot the 3-ball that much. So normally you're going to look at their stats and their 3-pointers this year, be like 2 for 9. Actually, that's more of the women's side. The men will be like maybe 4 for 10 or something like that. So sometimes they shoot it well, depending on if Imwani Wilkinson and Jonathan Lawson is playing well. Those are the 2 3-point shooters. But in this game, 2 for 12. 2 for 12 from beyond the arc. Again, you're not going to make many games making 2 3-pointers. They only made 19 shots altogether. They did not play well. They rely on their defense. Defense wasn't amazing either. So it was just a mix of not great things going on. Jonathan Lawson, 11 points, 5 turnovers. And Imwani Wilkinson, 10 points, but he was over 5 from beyond the arc. So just not the Wilkinson that we're used to seeing for this Little Rock team. Isaiah Lewis didn't score any points. Toom Gotkick, their forward who can do anything. He can steal it. He can pass it. He can dribble. He can block. He can do everything. He can also foul, and he got in foul trouble. He fouled out about 13 minutes left in the game. That was kind of the problem for Little Rock this year, was their depth, and they had some injuries. The biggest being KK Robinson didn't play the entire season due to an injury. So I feel bad for Little Rock because they didn't have much depth, and so that's why Gotkick had to play it, in the second half when he had 4 fouls, and he fouls out, they lose the game. And that's kind of the scenario for Little Rock has been this entire season, is injuries. And so I think there's a bright future, especially because they play in the OVC, a conference that isn't that good. And they were one of the better teams in the conference this year, and they still didn't have some of their weapons. So if they retain some of those players from this past season for next season, they could be good. They got KK Robinson coming back from his injury. They also got Kellen Robinson from Bryant, the freshman coming in. I think is a 3-star for Little Rock, or he plays for Bryant, but eventually played for Little Rock. So I think the future is bright for that team. I think, but we'll see. So that's the men's side of things. To the women's side of things, Little Rock, a bit of an upset a little bit in the conference tournament. Their season is also over as they get blistered by Southern Indiana, 73-52 in the quarterfinals. I thought, Little Rock has had times this year where they go on runs and they're down by 20 and they go on run and they only lose by 9, so it doesn't look too bad. I thought that's what's going to happen in this game. I thought at some point they would go on that run, and they did for a little bit. I think it was the second quarter, and that was it. Like, they didn't have that fourth quarter run. They're a team that takes pride in their defense. Their defense wasn't good. Offense wasn't great either. Similar to the men's team, 2 of 14 from beyond the arc. They're a team that their numbers, I feel like they barely shoot above double digits as far as three-pointers. They don't shoot the three that much. So to shoot 14 is probably a little bit much. Faith Lee, only 9 points. She's one of the best scorers in the OVC. Southern Indiana shut her down, and they didn't get her the ball enough as I thought they should have. Jordan Holman played okay in this game. Shug Williams had 18 points. But again, defensively, for some reason, Little Rock just couldn't keep up with Southern Indiana. So that comes to an end for Steve Weedor's first season. Overall, though, for his first season, not too bad. They were the 4th seed in this tournament. They had a good season. Hopefully, in his second season, he can do even better for this Little Rock team. All right, that's Little Rock to UCA. Now, quickly on the guys' side, they fall to Lipscomb in the second round of the ASUN tournament, 84-66. This game was a week ago today, so you've probably heard about it by now. They really had no shot in this one. I just wanted to briefly talk, kind of how I'm talking about a few of these teams. What's it look like for next season? And UCA, more than anybody, has been injury-riddled, excuse me. And I think they probably have the biggest chance to be better than they were this season than any other team we're covering. They did not do well this season. That's just how it is. But I think they have promise for next season because a lot of players come back. They should. The transfer portal's a thing, so some of them could transfer. A lot of players do come back. That includes the freshman phenom, Lane Taylor. That includes Braden Fagbemi, Ty Robinson, who didn't play all season from Hot Springs, Cole McCormick, who can make threes here and there, and Nehemiah Turner, who we saw go off in the game a week ago. They have a lot of good players. All those players I just mentioned are freshmen this year, except for Braden Fagbemi. They have a very young team. They have a lot of skilled guys, a lot of skilled guards. Can they put that together to put together a decent season? We'll see. They're improving. They did better this season than they did last year. So I think they can take that next step next year and be at the least a middle-of-the-line team in the ASUN. I don't know if they can get to the point where they're one of the better teams because the ASUN is decent. Lipscomb's pretty good. But they're a good team, so there's promise there. To the UCA women now, they take down Bellarmine 77-57 in the ASUN quarterfinals. This was one of the 3 teams that beat UCA this year. So UCA got revenge on them, did the Sugar Bears. It was a little too close for comfort for a lot of this game, at least for the first half. And then kind of how they always do, they pulled ahead. Bree Stevens was really good, 18 points, 4 of 4 from beyond the arc. You think that's good? Kinley Fisher, listen to this here. You see it behind me. Perfection. Perfection on the night. Now, she might have had a turnover or 2. I don't know. I didn't look at that. But shooting the ball, perfect. 18 points, 5 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, and 6 of 6 from the free throw line. Anytime she shot it, she didn't miss it. I guess she could have shot it and she got fouled. But you know what I'm saying. Every time she shot it, she saw the ball go in. So I'm really impressed by Kinley Fisher. I'll be honest. I out of the great players that UCA has this year, I didn't think she was one of the top 3. Jade Upshaw and Leah Mafua. And then, I probably would put Bree Stevens 3rd. And then Kinley Fisher 4th maybe. Elizabeth Abiaro when she's playing good. But Kinley Fisher has been playing really well these past few games. So she had 18 points. Jade Upshaw had 11 points. They win that game. They advance to the semifinals tomorrow night. Let's take a look at that bracket. They will face off against, Lipscomb in the semifinals tomorrow night. A really big game that UCA will have at home at the Ferris Center. If they win that game, I've talked about it for 2 months now. We know what's going to happen. Hopefully they'll win first off, and then they'll face off against Florida Gulf Coast in the finals. An FGCU team that is really good, that beat UCA by 20-plus points. And assuming FGCU wins, UCA will have to play at FGCU in the finals of the ASUN tournament. All right, high school basketball time. The first time we're talking high school basketball, not high school football, here on Luttie's Lookback. State tournament just happened this past week, and now we are getting ready for the state championships, which will be happening Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I broke down some brackets back in the fall. I'm going to do it again with just a few of the brackets in the championship weekend upcoming. We're going to start in the Class 6A. Bryant facing off against Springdale in the state championship game. You can see the path that they made to get here. Both of them the 1 seeds in their respective regions. It's not a surprise that both of them are here and making it into the state championship game. Springdale, definitely the favorites over the Bryant Hornets. Not to say anything against the Hornets, but the Bulldogs do have, oh yeah, Isaiah Seeley, the 4-star Arkansas recruit, has been torching opponent teams' defenses all season long. He might do that again against this Hornets team. But on the other side for Bryant, they've got Kellen Robinson, RJ Newton, RJ Young, Cameron Bede. Not to say that Springdale isn't loaded and they don't have depth, but I really like this Bryant Hornets team. It starts with Robinson, the 3-star commit to University of Arkansas Little Rock, going to play with his older brother, KK Robinson, next year for the Trojans. He's probably not focused on that too much right now. He's probably focused on this game, and I actually like the upset in this one. Give me Bryant to advance and win the 6A state championship game over a really good Springdale Bulldog team. But I like Bryant to win the game and win the 6A state championship game. That is the Class 6A. Let's move on to the Class 5A now. The Benton Panthers facing off against the Maumelle Hornets. 2 teams in our area. Those of you watching, we've probably got some Maumelle fans out there. We probably got some Benton Panther fans out there. Most of you, if you're watching this, you might know Benton is the favorite. Benton is one of the best teams in this state. They've been that way for all season long, primarily because of Terrion Burgess and just how sensational he is. The 4-star, 6'9" power forward can really do it all. Let's look at the path that they got here to make it into this finals game upcoming for this weekend. They were the 1 seed in the South. You can see it's been dominating wins pretty much all the way into the finals game. The game of probably the tournament in the 5A, Benton facing off against Little Rock Christian. Christian didn't get the win, but that was a fun game to watch between Burgess and J.J. Andrews, 2 4-stars facing off against each other. Produced a really fun matchup between both those teams. Benton gets past the Warriors, and then they got past Marion to make it to where they're at. And that's no disrespect to Maumelle, because let's talk about the Hornets. Ever since they lost to Little Rock Christian earlier on in the season, they have seemingly got better than they already were. And you can see that the path that they got to get here into the finals for the 5A, the 1 seed out of the Central, winning pretty easily in their first round game against Russellville. The second round taking down Hot Springs by 11. A close game there. Hot Springs gave them a run for their money, and then just dominating Catholic in the Final Four to advance to the finals. So it's Benton, it's Maumelle. This game, I think it'll be close, but let's see it. I'm going with the Benton Panthers. I like them too much. I think they're probably the best team in the state, definitely in the Class 5A. Again, no disrespect to Maumelle. This is a really good Hornets team that's playing their best basketball right now. But I like the Benton Panthers, and I like them to win the Class 5A state championship. So that is 5A boys. Let's move on. We got 2 left for you to the 4A boys. Morrilton and Mills, 2 teams that were also in our region facing off against each other. Morrilton, a really good team, a really good story behind them. They made it all the way to the finals, the 2 seed. The 2 seed you can see over here. They got the win over Westside, just barely. I mean, think about how far they wouldn't have come if they wouldn't have beat Westside to begin this game. A lot of close games here, all of them within the single digits to make it to the finals, to where they're at now. You can see Mills, a little bit different path to get here. Obviously the same amount of wins, but much bigger margin. Their first game, domination. Their second game, domination. Their third game, oh yeah, they dominated their opponent. And Mills is a really special team. They've got a big three. I mean, I can talk about all of their players because this is a really special team, but the big three that you got to mention, Anthony Hester, Zaylin Rowland, and Messiah Curry. Those three, when they have it going, they can beat anybody, not just in the Class 5A. You put them in the Class 6A, I like their chances against anybody. So in this game, unfortunately for the Morrilton Devil Dogs, I'm going with the Mills Comets. They're going to win the Class 4A state championship. My prediction, I could be wrong, and you Morrilton fans might clip this and post it on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever if I'm wrong. But I like the Mills Comets to win in the 4A championship game. That's the 4A boys. Lastly, to the 4A girls, it's really no decision here. Pulaski Academy has been one of the best teams in 4A for all season long. And yeah, they haven't lost a game. They haven't lost a game. So when I think about this team and how special they are, first-year head coach Becky Yarborough, what she's been able to do to come into a PA team that has been good in the past decade or so, has had some good seasons, but this one by far is the year that they could do it. Greenlee Elmore, I think a sophomore for this team that's been playing really good, had a crazy double-double in the regional finals to get them this 1 seed, to get the path that they are on now. Randy Stewart, Sophie Boyd, Madison Sanders, the list goes on of the talented Pulaski Academy girls basketball players on this Bruins team. You can see the path that they got here, the 1 seed in dominating fashion, obliterating their opponents all the way to the finals. DeQueen, on the other hand, also has had a lot of really dominating wins to make it to this point, but I just like the Bruins too much. Give me Pulaski Academy to take down DeQueen to win the 4A state title in the Class 4A girls. So that's just a look at some of the brackets that we have. There's a lot more going on this weekend in the Class 6A through 1A state championship in Hot Springs, which we will be there, THV 11, to cover a lot of those games, a lot of the teams that we cover. So that's some of my predictions. We'll see how we'll check in on next week and how I am on there. We'll end my show how we always do with Luttie's Look Ahead. The Razorbacks facing off against South Carolina, the team that destroyed them a little over a week ago. Arkansas gets its revenge, or is hoping to get its revenge against the worst team in the SEC. The Razorbacks, they need it, folks. They need it, don't they? They got to get this win. If they get this win, I think you're for sure into the NCAA tournament. If you lose again, it's hard to justify a team that's lost 2 times to the worst team in the SEC. Well, that's going to do it for Luttie's Look Back, episode 24. Arkansas football. Spring ball starts today for them, so that will be very exciting. We'll cover that throughout the week. I know a lot of the talk is about basketball, and that's why I'm very excited. This was a fun show for this week, but next week it might be even more fun. I don't know if for sure I'm going to do a full bracket breakdown of all, the full bracket for the NCAA tournament, but it's going to be something special, and we're going to do a lot more bracket breakdowns like you just saw, but for the college level for March Madness. Selection Sunday, 6 days away. So we'll be covering that, hoping the Razorbacks are in, hoping the Red Wolves are in on both the men's and women's side. Maybe the UCA women will keep on winning. We'll have to see. But it's been a fun show. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Luttie's Look Back. We'll see you next week.